All right, welcome back to the Net to Net podcast, NCAA College Football Edition. Big, big changes happened within the top 25 and within the last game. So many big top 25 matchups that we're going to get through. Last week played in week 4 and preview some games to week 5. Not as heavy as a schedule as last week was, but still good games to preview. And we'll go over my Heisman watch again from just based off of last week's games. So we'll first start with the games, last week's game. So games kicked off on Thursday, Friday. Probably the notable game on Friday was the Wisconsin Purdue game, rivalry within the Big Ten, and Wisconsin easily gets the ground game running, overpowers Purdue, and one of my favorite running backs, Braylon Allen, probably in my early mock draft is the second best running back in the draft this year, other than Trayvon Henderson. But the man had 2 touchdowns, 116 on 16 rushes. Pretty good. Nothing to say. Purdue just was overpowered by Wisconsin. Wisconsin looked pretty good. Purdue struggled. Hudson Card struggled to get anything going. He threw 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Couldn't really get anything going and working for Purdue. Unfortunately, we all knew that Wisconsin is a better team, which Luke Fickell, 3-1 on the season, former UC coach. So good to see that he's doing great, but wish he was still at UC. And then speaking of UC on the Saturday game, Big Noon was there. The atmosphere was electric. It looked like I wish I was there. But those things are so fun to be a part of. College game day came when I was in school, so big exciting things there. Looked like a good game. Unfortunately, Cincinnati drops to 2-2, lose 20-6 to Oklahoma, who stays undefeated. Dylan Gabriel had 2 touchdowns, 1 throwing, 1 rushing for about 322. Definitely played a lot better since the last time he was there. Oklahoma just looked very, very good. Definitely Dylan Gabriel rebounded from when he was at UCF, when he was last at Cincinnati, when he threw 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions and lost to the Bearcats. Actually, this is his first win against the Bearcats. Shocking enough, it's on with Oklahoma and not UCF. Amar Jones, it just didn't look like our offense could get anything really going. We missed a field goal, which continued. We would get close to the end zone, and then we just turn it over or couldn't get the ball in. Oklahoma just looked very good. Oklahoma got pressure to us, which sucks, but yeah. And then hopefully we can rebound this week against BYU on Friday. Hopefully we get the dub. One big thing to notice is that we were without our starting DB, Deshaun Pace. He did not play. He violated team rules, which I think hurt us because he's one of our leaders on the defense, one of our best defensive players other than Dante Corleone. But we really missed his physicality and his leadership on the defense, which hopefully he's back against BYU and it's not a long suspension. Now kind of transitioning to another good game that was on Auburn, Texas A&M. This was a must-win game for Jimbo Fisher. I think if they lost this, they'd be 2-2 on the season. Unfortunately, they lose Connor Wagman. He goes down. He's out for. They have confirmed that he is out for the season now, so they will be without Connor Wagman, which is unfortunate because he was playing very. He was not horrible this season, but he was playing well. But Max Johnson came in, stepped in the transfer. I believe he transferred from LSU last year and was able to get things going. Peyton Thorne for Auburn wasn't too bad, I believe. It was also a transfer, I believe. I think he played at I want to say Tulsa last year. I'm not 100% sure, but he wasn't. He struggled to get the ball going against Texas A&M with that star-studded five-star recruits on all places of the ball. But yes, losing Connor Wagman, lower leg injury, he's out for the rest of the season. I think Max Johnson can come in, step right in, and be that quarterback that they need. He had 2 touchdowns for 123 yards, 7-11 passing. So it looks like they started moving once he came into the game because they really weren't doing anything with Connor in the game at the time. So it could be a blessing. The next game, the earlier game, is the Florida State Clemson game. Clemson had it. Clemson could have won it in regular time. Misses a field goal, and then they go to OT, and Clemson loses to a Jordan Travis touchdown. They could not equalize. I would say Florida State did get lucky. Clemson had it. Clemson was winning. Fumbles with 48 seconds left. Fumble for a touchdown. Unfortunately, Kate Kubiak um, couldn't deliver the win. Jordan Travis, 21 of 37 for about 269. He's one of my favorites for the Heisman. Looked pretty good. 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Cade wasn't too bad either, about 283 for Clemson with 1 touchdown. It looks like if Clemson can like figure out their injuries, not injuries, but like their way of play, I think they could fix their issues. I think they need to get Will Shipley moving. But like people are saying Clemson's out, like their dynasty's done. I don't know if that's technically true because they are. Yes, they are. I believe they are out, not even ranked. They're 2-2. Like it is a rebuilding year for Clemson. They did have lost a lot of people over the last few years, so I don't count them out. But they could be. This could be the end of it. Florida State, Jordan Travis, very good. Florida State, Travis helps them snap a 4-game losing streak over Clemson. Stay at number 4 in the country, which was pretty good. Some other notable games, you have Michigan beating Rutgers 31-7, which was Jim Harbaugh's first game back. Didn't miss a step. Another game is Ole Miss Alabama, which I touched on last week. That I thought Ole Miss could get the dub, but I still picked Alabama. And the fact that Bama did struggle again. They went back to Jalen Milrose after they could not get anything going with the other two quarterbacks, with Tyler Buckner and Ty Simpson. They went back to Jalen Milrose. He still struggled. 17 of 21. He had 17 of 21, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, which isn't as efficient. He still struggled. Jace McClellan, 1 touchdown for 105 yards running. Pretty much run the ball because they could not get anything going. Did force a lot of sacks. 1 turnover for Alabama's defense. It was low scoring, 24-10. It was close at halfway through the game. It was 7-6 going into halftime, which is close. And then Bama kind of pulled away, but you still see the struggles by Bama, which is concerning for them because they're supposed to be another powerhouse team, which they could not get it done. Another game happened, a low-scoring game with the Utah UCLA, 7-14. Very low scoring. Still no sign of Cam Rising. So they do miss him badly. But it was mostly defensive game. There was no scoring, which was shocking because it's UCLA and Utah. You would see a good rivalry. Hopefully they can get something going. But is that what we're supposed to expect from like those Pac-12 boys doing that kind of things? But we'll see. So yeah, that's definitely kind of like where I'm at with that game because we saw a lot of issues from them. But hopefully Utah bounces back, which they did get the win, but hopefully I think they need Cameron Rising. I think they're kind of without him, they're kind of like lost and they can't get the ball moving as fast. Other than that, other games that happened, LSU barely beat Arkansas 34-31. It was a close game. And then round another top 25 matchup, 21 Washington State against Oregon State, two good teams. In the Pac-12, Oregon State barely lost 35-38 by a field goal. We saw a lot of good out of DJ Ungalele. 198 yards, one touchdown, one interception. Unfortunately, the run game was most of the stuff that happened for Oregon State. They had 101 yards for 3 rushing touchdowns from running back Deshaun Fenwick, who's not looked bad through the first 4 games. Not their main running back, but he got something going. Damian Martinez also pitched in 81 yards. And then Washington State, one of my Cameron Ward, very efficient, 404 yards with 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown. So he had 5 touchdowns altogether. That's insane. Like he's up there in one of my favorites for the Heisman. Like another QB ready for the NFL. I expect a lot from him. He's very exciting to watch. Georgia got the dub, 41-21 against UAB, which wasn't shocking. Texas got the dub, 38-6 against Baylor. Duke and North Carolina are still undefeated and still ranked, shockingly enough. Iowa, the number 24 team in the nation, lost to number 7 Penn State 31-0, which was shocking. Wasn't that shocking. And then I know the USC Arizona State was close going into halftime. USC pulls away 42-28 against Arizona State, which Caleb Williams, another 3 touchdown, 0 interception game. Pretty good. Brendan Rice leading is arguably his favorite target. 7 receptions, 133 yards with 2 touchdowns, which we all know. We can kind of tell that's Caleb's favorite target. And then they were also running the ball very well with Marshawn Lloyd, 154 yards on 14 rushes. His longest was a 43-yard breakaway. But yeah, those are some of the big games. And now we can shift to probably the couple biggest games of the day. Let's start with my Oregon Ducks versus Colorado. It was a big hype. It was a big hype going into it. Big college game day was in the running to be at Eugene, but they obviously decided to be at South Bend for the Ohio State Notre Dame game, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But you're Oregon versus Colorado. You're without Travis Hunter, your best player on offense and defense. How do they cope? How does Deion Sanders in his first year at Colorado give Oregon a run for their money? And we go in and we're thinking he's never really been in that kind of – he's never had to play a tough team. This is his biggest tough test. Like, yes, you can say Colorado State, but that's not as a tough team as Oregon. Start the game off, Oregon. You started off hot. They scored 13 unanswered in the first, 22 unanswered in the second quarter, 7 unanswered in the third. And then they finally score in the 6 points in the fourth quarter. We don't score anything, but we're already at 42-0. 42-0 at the time, and then they score, so it's 42-6. We're talking about a very great game from Bo Nix. 28 of 33 for 276 yards. 1 interception, which was a bad throw, but 3 touchdowns. And then 2 of them to Troy Franklin, his favorite target. 126 yards on 8 receptions. Tez Johnson, 48 yards on 4 receptions. In the running game, we got stuff from Bucky Irving, Jordan James, Noah Whittington. Bo Nix ran the ball a few times. Like, Oregon, and they showed, like, I was very particular on their defense last week, their last game, because there was holes. There was no holes in this game. I saw Brandon Dorless get to the quarterback a lot and put pressure on him. Jordan Birch got 2 sacks, the transfer from South Carolina. We got we didn't force an interception, but we got to the quarterback. We put pressure on him. We were all over Shadori Sanders. And, like, don't get me wrong, Shadori Sanders one touchdown, didn't turn the ball over. He only missed 10 of his passes, but they just could not get anything going against the defense of Oregon. Oregon was shutting everything down. They were not letting Shadori Sanders have time in the pocket to get a pass out. Did not have time to scramble and try to make a play with his feet like we've seen all season. Oregon showed us today, or showed us last week, that they're here to play, and they can play against anyone. It doesn't matter. Like, that was a big game for them to win, and they showed Deion. Deion was, I think he was like, he didn't know what to do really, because this is his first time against a big team like that. And Bo Nix solidifying another place why he should be in the running for the Heisman, which he's number 3 on my list. So he's just showing us again why he's a top quarterback in this league. And then the last game, Ohio State, Notre Dame, South Bend. College Game Day was there. I picked Ohio State on the last podcast. It was going to be, I didn't know what the score was going to be, but I knew it was going to be 7 or less. And I called it. Ohio State 17, Notre Dame 14. I said in the previous podcast, whoever has the ball with 2 minutes left in the game is going to win the game. Guess who had the ball? Ohio State. And I was skeptical. Sam Hartman, one of my favorites to win the Heisman, comes out and puts on a game though. He scored a touch. He threw a touchdown. Didn't turn the ball over. Very efficient. 175 yards on 17 of 25. Estime, they shut Estime down. Audric Estime, my favorite running back in this year's college football season, and they shut him down. They did not let him get over 100 yards this game. He had 70 yards. His longest was 22. He only averaged 5 yards a game, 5 yards in this game. They shut that down. Their defense, Ohio State's defense, looks so good, but so did Notre Dame, because Notre Dame only let them score 17, which is insane. And yeah, everybody's going to talk about Notre Dame lost the game because they played 10 men on the field. That's on the coach then. If the coach that can't tell how many people are on the field and they need one more, that's their fault. Ohio State saw that and they exploited it. Yes, Kyle McCord didn't throw a touchdown. He threw for 240, but Travion Henderson, 104, probably the best game we've seen this year out of him. We really didn't see Miles Williams a lot. He only had 1 carry. Didn't really do a whole lot. They relied on Travion Henderson, who had a monster game. He scored twice, averaged 7.4 yards a carry, which is pretty good. To be honest, Notre Dame's defense shut down Marvin Harrison Jr. They Emeka Buka did have a game. He had 96 yards on 7 receptions. You really could tell he was going to him and Cade Stover because they were shutting Flemings and Marvin Harrison down. Yes, Marvin Harrison did leave the game with an injury to his lower leg, but he came back later. But yes, and the Ohio State's defense was getting to Sam Hartman, putting pressure and stuff, but it doesn't show up in the sacks. Yes, they didn't sack him, but they were getting pressure. They were making him uncomfortable in that pocket. Their defense was shutting down their weapons, and in the likes of, like I mentioned, Audric Estime, Chris Tyrese, Mitchell Evans, and things like that. So that's where we kind of saw from Ohio State's defense that they're one of the best defenses in the nation right now. I believe they were ranked 5 going into it, and Notre Dame was 3, which pretty much this had playoff implications. If they lost, it would have been really hard for one of these teams to get into the college football playoffs. Now we know Ohio State's defense can hold on. It's just, can the offense come up big for them? And we saw they did, but it took a minute because it was like 3rd and 14, 3rd and 17, 4th and 14. They were putting their situation in risky situations. You don't get this first down, game's over, and you have a loss in your column. So that was kind of my takeaway from that game. Ohio State pulls it out, but it was a hard fought win. And now kind of transitioning to do the games that are coming up this week. Let's start Friday. My Bearcats take on BYU. Hopefully you can get a rebound against Brigham Young at BYU, going on the road, second game in the Big 12. Hopefully we can pull it out. Hopefully we have a bounce back. Hopefully Deshaun Pace is playing. We just need to get Emory Jones going. We need to get Montgomery going. Our defense needs to play. Our defense has been playing fine. It's just our offense. We just haven't clicked yet. And I think it's new coach, new system. We're starting to learn ourselves still. And then the next game at 6 p.m., we got Utah versus Oregon State, two top 25 matchup. I think if Cameron Rising doesn't play, it's going to be another UCLA game where it's low scoring, defense is playing. I think DJ Ungalele steps up and could get the dub against Utah. If Cameron Rising doesn't play, it's a big favorite to Oregon State because Cameron Rising is their best quarterback and is their best player and can get the ball out. And hopefully he's back because we don't want anyone hurt still, but he makes it more fun, I think. But I think if he's not playing, Oregon State takes it. I think DJ Ungalele, it's his team. It's Oregon State. They're forced to reckon with, which, as an Oregon fan, I'm scared to play them at the end of the season for the Civil War. But again, going into Saturday, Oregon, Stanford, typical rivalry. We always see it. It might be the last of it. Hopefully not. Oregon, I think, easily takes the win against Stanford. It's just we say that, and then Oregon loses to Stanford. We've lost to them before, and we've been the better team. It's just we can't play down to their level, and we have in the past, which hopefully Bo Nix comes out with firing and gets us going. And we keep that momentum from Colorado up until the season ends. The next game to point out is a USC Colorado game. That's going to be another big test for Deion and his boys. Probably still no Travis Hunter. Can Shadori Sanders bounce back against one of the Heisman favorites and Caleb Williams? We'll see. Can their defense hold against Caleb Williams? Caleb Williams has been having his day with defenses right now, so hopefully we can see that. Georgia takes on Auburn, which should be a good game. Georgia against another good SEC team, defensively wise, because they really haven't seen that other than South Carolina. We saw South Carolina almost pull up the upset in Georgia at their place. But let's see if Auburn can come in and take down Georgia. They are home. Auburn is home. We've seen a lot of special things happen at Auburn, like in the Iron Bowl against Alabama. We've seen multiple things like that. So never root out Auburn. But Georgia probably will win this, but I think it will be close. Another top 25 matchup, you got Texas versus Kansas. Kansas is probably going to lose. Yes, Kansas has been playing very well, but it's Texas. It's Quinn Ewers. It's those boys. I don't think that Texas is going to be able – or Kansas, sorry, is going to be able to handle Texas. You have the likes of, like I mentioned, Quinn Ewers. You have Xavier Worthy. You have so many options. Jonathan Brooks, Jaden Blue. You have so many weapons on that side. Killian Robinson, so many options to use. Quinn Ewers I think, is going to have a field day with Kansas. And I think the Cinderella story for them was going to be over. And then we have LSU, Ole Miss. Can Ole Miss bounce back from that loss against Bama and beat LSU? Yeah, it could be an upset. We have Oklahoma playing Iowa State. Oklahoma's number 14th team in the country, so that should be an interesting one. And then the later games, we have Notre Dame, Duke, two top 25 matches. I think Notre Dame bounces back, and I think Duke's Cinderella run ends here. And then first game for Michigan State officially without Mel Tucker. He is fired. They did get rid of him. New coach against Iowa. Let's see how they bounce back. Let's see how Iowa bounces back after not scoring a single point going into Happy Valley at Penn State. And then the later games is the Bama-Mississippi State game. Can Bama find their groove? Is Jalen Milrose going to be the starter? Is Ty Buckner? I honestly think it's going to be Jalen Milrose, but wouldn't be shocked if in the second half, if things aren't going, they switch to another quarterback and they still don't. This is probably their worst quarterback group in a while because they have struggled this year with quarterback play. And then the last game, Washington take on Arizona. Should be a good game. I just think Michael Penix Jr. is going to keep moving, pushing for his his Heisman push. And then, those are kind of previewing. A few teams are taking off, like Ohio State has a bye week this week, notable for them. So they will not be playing until next week against Maryland. Now kind of switching those gears to my Heisman. After 4 weeks, I have to go with number one. It has to be Michael Penix Jr. He's 4-0. He's got 15 touchdowns, over 1,636 yards. He's only been sacked once, which is incredible for Washington's team. He's only thrown 2 interceptions. He's about 74.6 with the complete accuracy. He's looked very good. Um, he's just really good. I think his next couple games, I think, should be interesting. See if he can keep up with when he goes and plays against Caleb Williams on November 4th. That I think will be his real test. Two top Heisman guys. Let's see if they can do it. And then number two, Caleb Williams. He plays Penix Jr. on November 4th. Caleb Williams has yet to throw an interception. He scored 5 touchdowns, 2 passing, 2 rushing against Arizona State. He threw for 322 yards. Overall in the season, he's got 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, 71 yards rushing with 0 interceptions. He has not turned the ball over. Yes, he hasn't looked as sharp in certain games. He started kind of slow, but no interceptions and 2 performances over 300 yards where they scored 56 in both games. The man hasn't, yes, he hasn't played any good defenses. I think November 4th is where we'll see, or I think Colorado this week will be his biggest test. So we'll see how they do. Let's see if Travis Hunter plays because he wants to play, we know. But is this the first time we're going to see someone go back-to-back Heismans in 48 years? We'll see. He is one of my favorites. Him and Michael Penix are number 1 and 2. Number 3, Bo Nix. He is making a case. He is 1 rushing touchdown, 11 touchdowns. I believe he's only thrown, 1 pick, I think, 1 or 2 picks. Very turns the ball. He's very accurate. He's already at 1,169 yards, so that's pretty good for him. And he made a statement against Colorado. He doesn't care who's coaching. He scored 42 points. And funny enough, he's the only quarterback to throw for 52 touchdowns for 2 different schools. He feels like this man looks rejuvenated since he left Auburn. I think he looks better. Yes, Auburn. I don't think they got him. Auburn really got used at it. I don't think the system and the team was very good around him. He comes to Oregon, he just looks so good, and I'm happy he came back for his last year. He looks very good. I think he's pushing for 3rd on my list. Number 4, I would probably have to go with Cameron Ward. Cameron Ward just looks so good. Yes, he plays for Washington State. Yes, it was a throw against Oregon State, and he looked very good. He has 2 wins over ranked opponents in 3 weeks. That's insane. 4 touchdowns, 1 rushing against Oregon State, 13 touchdowns, 3 rushing over the entire season so far. He just looks good, and I really like him. And then I think if he keeps it up and they keep doing it and they play for a Pac-12 championship, which is possible, it could be interesting. Where he finishes if he keeps this play up. And then lastly, Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis played Clemson. He's played LSU. People are saying they're calling him College King 2.0. He's taken down multiple teams, but we have seen he has struggled in certain games. Like he started slow. He got an ugly win, I would say, against Boston College. He barely got the win against Clemson, but he threw for only 289 and 2 touchdowns. But he's making it hard on himself because he's not doing certain things. He's trying to do too much. He's trying to read the game too much. He's trying to make these throws that probably he shouldn't make. He's trying to force it into double coverage. He's trying to go long when he can just dump it down and go through your progressions, go through your reads. Look at your running back as a check down. Look at your tight ends who are doing your check downs. He's trying to just force the ball way too much, which I think is making those mistakes as the defense is exploiting him. Jordan Travis is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I just think with my list of those guys who I named are just too much better than like what we've seen. And then you have to round out the next, I have Quinn Ewers, who I think is up there. He has 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions for 1,033 yards. He just other than he probably has the best win of the season. But then after that, they really haven't played anyone. Baylor, Wyoming, and Rice. Other than Bama, they really haven't played anyone. So it'll be interesting to see as the season goes on against once he plays some better teams, in the likes of he plays Kansas this week, should be a win, but let's look at the rest of the season Texas has to go through. They still have to play. I believe they still have to play Oklahoma in 2 weeks. They still have to play BYU, Houston, Kansas State, TCU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech to finish the season. So let's see how he does the rest of the season, if he can keep it going. And because I think Texas is the most complete team, one of the most complete teams in college football right now. Like they have everything. Running backs, they have it on the offense, they have it on the defense, which I'm scared of if I'm an opposing team. And then the other one is Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman, Florida State receiver. I think he's a first-round draft pick. He looks so good. 17 receptions, 256 yards, 6 touchdowns, and he averages 15.1 yards a reception. He looks good. He's honestly probably one of my favorite receivers to watch this season, other than obviously the Marvin Harrison, Xavier Worthy, and Xavier Weaver out of Colorado State and Florida State, respectively. But yeah, those are my 6 in those orders, which I like, and we'll regroup every week with this. And then with all these losses coming in, we can look at the college football playoff, or not playoff, sorry, the top 25 rankings. If you do, we had some movement from last week. So Ohio State jumped 2 from 6 to 4 after their win against Notre Dame. Florida State moved down due to their close win against Clemson. Penn State, Washington all moved up. USC moved down to 8 due to the fact that they really haven't played anyone big, which makes sense. I was shocked that Oregon beat the living crap out of Colorado, and not to be biased, but didn't move up, only moved up 1 spot, and they physically beat them 42-6, which in my case, I think that gives you at least over USC and maybe over Washington, depending on how you look at their team against their strength, the schedule. And yes, they played Michigan State, but Michigan State isn't that good. I would obviously say Colorado's better than Michigan State. I thought they would move up. Utah moved up 1. Notre Dame moved down 2 from 9 to 11. Bama moved up 1 after their win. LSU moved down. Few teams moved up. And later in the stages, probably the biggest news is Washington State after their win against Oregon State. They moved up 5 spots to 16th. And then Oregon State and Ole Miss dropped 5 spots, respectively, to 19 and 20. That's Ole Miss at 20 and Oregon State at 19, which is insane. And then we have 3 new schools ranked with Missouri, Kansas, and Fresno State getting and dropping from it is Colorado, UCLA, and Iowa for obvious reasons. UCLA lost 14-7. Colorado lost 42-6, like I mentioned, and then Iowa lost to Penn State. I believe it was 31-0, which didn't score a point against number 17. If they would have beat them, I think they would have jumped. But that is the rankings from this week, and those are and I honestly, other than the Oregon not moving up more than 1 spot, and I think Bama moving up 1, I think Bama should have stayed at 13, and I think Oregon should have moved up to at least over USC, because I don't think USC has played anyone as huge yet. And then Miami, I think they're making their way up. They moved up 2 spots, which is agreeable. But I think Oregon State, they barely lost. Moving 5 is kind of harsh. I think 14, 15, 16 would have been fine. I think 19 is a little harsh for losing a close game. But we see Florida State drop one spot for losing or winning by, what was it, a field goal in overtime to Clemson. Like, come on. I don't agree with some of the rankings, but a lot of it makes sense. So hopefully we can see that. Hopefully it's a fun week this week. I know there isn't a ton of games, but hopefully we can get more fun. But yeah, so that was kind of a quick 35-minute college football. I did want to unveil my too early top prospects for each position in college going. I'm still working on it, so I will probably try to get that out to you next college football episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys soon on the next soccer and NFL and NBA podcast. So see you guys soon. Like and subscribe on Spotify and YouTube, and see you soon. Peace.